A woman calculates how long Zephyr's broken body can survive. Though he already knows, his only goals are survival and revenge against the master who betrayed him. However, they are yanked out of the cave far earlier than expected. The Lord of the Canyon, Onder, crashes heavily. Zephyr regrets his weakness, wishing for a different outcome. Ned would not have abandoned his long-awaited revenge to sacrifice himself. They both could have escaped alive, but now he hangs. A lone figure stands frozen, with a forgotten past, told to watch carefully. Zephyr remembered the final secret technique his master never taught him. He saw the image of his master's back from that fateful day. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. They sat across from each other, the air heavy. Overwhelmed by the impossible story, the listener then learns Zephyr wields divine items like... He admits he omitted awkward details and apologizes. He asks for help against the god of destruction again, then adds, he confesses he only wanted the listener to live, then suddenly realizes something. Revenge was not his only motivation. He expected to live with his noble family. After losing everything at 4, his master gave him new name. Growing much stronger, he then took every dirty assignment, for everything. The bond between master and disciple is like family. He saw himself as a clueless pawn, hating his ruined life until anew. His life had meaning after all, because he left something behind in this world. Someone thanked Zephyr, and then another asked if he was a time-traveling hero. He swore they would fight together, and confirmed that Ned agreed to keep everything hidden. Allow me to officially introduce ourselves. We're Princess Altair's permanent party members. The reason she's suddenly out of commission? Probably that crystal spellbook. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Hang in there. I went through absolute hell. Zephyr's team stocked supplies and drilled for the Blue Dragon raid. Then a robed figure. A holy figure sighed and told Zephyr to hurry. Then she activated. She nodded his muscular physique, then declared they couldn't bring sick members and summoned Ned. He winced at the antennae. A moment later, the princess sent word she wanted. Altair must be awake. I'm not sure where to look, Spring. The heavy stone door groans open, cold air spilling. A stone door opens, and a voice names Zephyr and Ned. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. The command to trust Zephyr burns through. Then, Altair jolts awake. She opens her eyes to a relieved voice calling her princess. The attendants warn the princess not to move too fast. She barely recalls anything. She only recalls a whisper. To trust Zephyr as cold mist pours. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits. Zephyr arrives, greeting the princess warmly, then apologizes. Bracing for the coming words, Zephyr's mind races with suspicion. Silently urging Altair to inspect the crystal, Zephyr awaits her answer. Altair reads him like a neon sign he's dying to know if she's got. Tartarus aimed to strengthen her for his plan, a fact revealed to Zephyr. Communion is beyond a level 3 user, so Zephyr needs a new approach. The commander says, "Persuade me." He warns his story is too much on an empty stomach. A few days later, they complete preparations and march to hunt the Blue Dragon. Tartarus presses the moment, while Zephyr hides his real answer. The other power players remain puzzled, buying Zephyr a month or two. He plans the Blue Dragon raid, then warns Ned to hide their past relationship. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. He recalls meeting Altair in his first life. Ned recalls when people freely entered any home. Zephyr's eyes widen as sweat rolls down his face. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Ned gasps. The dragon nested at the river's source, poisoning the water. Only 20% of crops remain, dying next year. Perfect timing for enemies. The situation looks grim. The station now shelters farmers driven from home. They plan to merge forces with Danikil's troops. A knight named Lord Grimes stumbles in, greets them, then doubles over gasping. Blue dragon poison turned Grimes' skin purple. Like the land, it cannot. Altair recognizes this trustworthy knight from Danikil. Zephyr humphs, knowing they will team up. Altair's smile sharpens with satisfaction as he tells the princess she did well. Zephyr's reversal stuns everyone, and the area becomes an off-limits zone of slaughter. Zephyr reveals this poison's antidote requires dragon blood, which burns the venom out. As Zephyr considers poison as medicine against the blue dragon, Ari's mana perception flares. Mana detection at the first aid station triggers as someone approaches rapidly. Regulus greets Pilgrim with calm formality, commenting on how long it has been. Pilgrim brightens upon seeing Lord Regulus, who came after learning of an urgent letter. Regulus, as eldest son, accuses someone of deceiving Pilgrim, who reacts. Regulus planted spies in the Third Parish and warns that protocol was bypassed. Pilgrim dismisses the warning, citing promised reinforcements, but Regulus insists there is no time. A blood-curdling scream pierces the air, followed by another cry. Zephyr demands to know what is happening, his eyes wide. A brutal counter sends Lord Grimes crashing down as someone shouts. He spots strange objects protruding from the fallen warrior, possibly poisoned needles. A voice demands the attacker step away as steel clashes against steel. Outraged, Regulus demands who dares draw a sword, then recognizes Ophelia. Regulus asks why Ophelia stops him, having heard his concerns through mana perception. Ophelia declares that no one may refuse participation, shocking Regulus into wide-eyed disbelief. His eyes widen in shock, then he collapses under the revelation's weight. A respectful greeting honors the princess. Then another expresses deep gratitude. Regulus apologizes. Unaware Zephyr was saving Lord Grimes, she asks about Academy days, saying his team had no accidents and was tougher. He studies the threat in front of him. The temple's rules remind Zephyr how tightly the workers are controlled. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. They'd been blinded. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him, swearing allegiance. Zephyr inwardly boasts they are the best liars. He treated critical patients with acupuncture, but the poison will soon return. The key ingredient is found only in this forest, still intact and spanning several. High mana concentration alters the atmosphere, spooking horses and making someone. He wishes he could just stuff them in the silver key. Turns out they put a companion inside. They put a companion. Zephyr's like, better keep him by my side. Who needs the silver key? The mind's brutal routine shows Zephyr exactly where he has returned. He snapped his head around, feeling a faint presence. The presence was faint and brief, but Zephyr felt it clearly. Sensing something approaching, Zephyr's expression shifted to alarm. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him. The princess tries to play it cool, waving it off like her homeland's nothing special. Honestly, it doesn't matter if it's meaningful or not. Someone just needs to hear. Thing is, in a moment, he steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Zephyr's gaze snaps forward as he orders the guards to watch the caravan's front. The group halts as someone calls for caution. Then they notice a towering gate of twisted vines. This forest gate appears, and Zephyr observes the intruder-repellent device has been relocated. A booming voice warns the humans to leave, declaring this land does not belong. Zephyr watches the rune carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. Hey, hold everything, step on it! Residents. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. Seated on his throne, flanked by armored guards, the river separates the elves from their enemies. Marking. He claims the elves should be thrilled with the generous terms, then bids them farewell as noble forest dwellers. The farewell is cut short when someone warns that the enemies are alive and closing in. Elves live several times longer than humans and channel forest life force for over 2,000 years. The Guardians order Zephyr to turn back, offering only death instead. A fighter's cry to stay calm is cut short by a crushing counter, then a flash appears. A blast rips through the area, followed by a blinding green energy surge. The watchtower houses gatekeeper elves who monitor forest boundaries and control magical plants. The attackers celebrate their apparent victory and mock the princess's strength. A blinding green burst envelops the area, then swells outward. A fighter marvels at the light barrier's force. He leans in close, vowing that no matter how sturdy the device is, it will break. He claims their attacks are not enough to stop him. Language enchantment awakens, giving words power. The tree splits. The watchtower lies at the tree's center, and someone gets grabbed. He calls the other old, despite youth, then says, "Talk later." A small detail in the exchange gives Zephyr another angle. Wait a minute. This elf looks different from the one I know. Gote's proposal hangs in the air while Zephyr studies. That skill and that insane power. It's him. I know it. Sahak's control over the room makes every answer feel dangerous. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Zephyr meets the gaze of the divine archer Dariel, smirking as the archer draws his bow half a mile. Dariel's arrow tears through the tree line, and the camp panics, shouting they are under blow. Kiara sends a golem to warn Zephyr, but the dense canopy limits its range. Someone spots something in the sky, and a golden lightning bolt reveals a tiny winged figure. Is that a spell? No. Holy crap, it's an actual arrow! Dariel isn't done. He uses another absolute monster. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him. Dariel nods, eyes blazing, then draws again as the sky answers with red meteor. The forest canopy tears open, raining blazing arrows. The arrows are too fast to enchant, and Jian considers dodging, then grins instead. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. A blinding arc of golden energy tears through the darkness. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. The room's silence tells Zephyr that one wrong answer could close. He had dismissed the four-dragon style as just. Li Jian stands on a shattered tree trunk, his sword resting. They have lost many to the blue dragon. An enemy collapses, his spirit shattered, and the fight is lost. Whichever you are, we'll give you anything you want. The desperation is. Fast forward. A new group stands assembled beneath the ancient canopy. Warriors, mystics. Sahak's control over the room makes every answer feel dangerous. The hidden clue changes how Zephyr reads the offer. High Elf Elder Heron steps forward, his eyes marking their kind's unique abilities. Zephyr's mind wanders elsewhere when the name Gite is. He recalls Gite as more mature in his past life. Heron smiles, claiming the Tree of Life guided Zephyr to them since their truce with Prince. The first guest risked his life entering the forest. Just like Jian, that guest used rare poisons. They knew him as the Viper, a legendary name. Elder Heron says a friend of a friend is family. The air grows heavy. The cruel Tree of Life grew by consuming the lake, disrupting its ancient balance. The story flashes back a few days to Lindel Fortress. Zephyr outlines his Blue Dragon raid plan, but Edwin questions his persuasive abilities. A subordinate asks their queen for guidance, noting the elves have no choice. Mercedes understood the real problem was Danikil's people, who believed the elf myths. Mercedes explained the two groups were now enemies, starting 4 years ago. The elves arrived, claiming all land by the lake, then easily defeated. A golden dragon then appeared, causing the elves to retreat quickly. Humans won the war, forcing elves into a truce. Lord Danikil and Regulus knew elf cooperation was vital, despite internal party conflicts. The princess believed their plan would succeed precisely. She explained that crisis presented opportunity, urging them to remember their ultimate goal. Zephyr explains he did a small favor for Fade's guildmate, then treats a poisoned elf. Zephyr's favor brings him before Elder Heron and Kiara. An elf warrior watches. The poison seeps and sizzles, as someone exclaims Zephyr is better than Fade. He claims he is the first to create this poison. He is questioned about his master's whereabouts, refusing to answer. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. One character angrily tells another to stay out. Poisoned elves survived on small, regular doses of Fade's poison. Facing a grim choice, Zephyr suddenly appeared. A shocking and unexpected intervention. He neutralized the poison, showing immense power, then located the Queen's final sealed box. This was the final sealed box, besides one, hidden across the 12 towers. The moons. Top-tier warriors were shocked by the idea of abandoning. Elder Heron commented on the forest's decline, blaming the queen's neglect. He studies the threat in front of him and waits. Learning from Black Moon and Red Moon, the speaker mockingly abandoned the others. The speaker did not leave with them lacking strength to seize the throne alone. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. The messenger saw the chaotic events as a blessing, fully committing to slaying the blue. She was aware most high elves had fled. He knew how to cleanse the tower's poison. The elder accepted Zephyr, convinced the goddess of light had sent him to guide them. He pondered Dinakiel's devotion to the goddess, then realized his plan had succeeded. He realized the most challenging part of his mission was just beginning, finding it irritating. He remembered their capture, unable to bathe, and their belongings were confiscated. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. A hand presses a crimson wax seal, then the room falls silent. The air shifts as a Tartarus fanatic smirks at the princess, dismissing the farmland. The cultist claims the idea was his. Olden is dead, leaving 11 apostles. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. A magical plant looms ahead, a plant factory that produces food and gear. The elves crafted these plants for effortless living, but now poison covers them. Manaweeds spew toxic mist. Then a thunderous roar announces a cruel plant beast. Elven archers release a synchronized volley of arrows. Then they lay out their conditions. Mercedes asks Zephyr to protect the town from forest monsters, which he finds unsurprising. She adds that his acupuncture stabilized her mother, which he considers a given. Zephyr agrees, needing materials, and a fire spell tears across the battlefield. A rapid flash of light appears, then the ground convulses violently. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. He clenches his fist as crimson lightning rages. Then a thunderous impact strikes. Crackling lightning tears through the sky. Then a blinding surge appears from Zephyr. The shockwave rips outward, and the elven leader thanks Zephyr for saving the town and queen. The princess, shocked that humans saved them after the high elves fled, offers everything. She lifts a tree of life branch in a vase, pleading they not accept. Zephyr's patience runs out, and Dariel interrupts, telling them to stop. A counter begins the fight, then a quick exchange ends with a revelation. The battlefield falls silent as everyone stares at the aftermath of the clash. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. A single panel reveals Zephyr's unwavering determination through his fierce expression. Li Gaon stands covered in demon blood, grinning as if he is only getting started. He fights alone in a demon nest, ready for more. The chapter concludes. Before Zephyr enters the demon nest, the dwarf explains the artifact is hero grade by human standards. Elise stammers at the hero grade revelation, then they count its worth as a shockwave hits. Crickets fill the room as the crowd discusses the old weapon that saved the town. Li Jian accepts his old gear is lost, but eagerly awaits Dariel's crafted weapon. Dariel claims he has high-quality materials, and Li Jian wonders if that branch will become a weapon. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. Liquid pours into a goblet, then a golden-eyed figure in ornate armor stands calmly. He offers the water of vitality and a young branch. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. If the raid succeeds, they can restore the Lake of Vitality. Li Jian agrees. He drinks deeply to steel himself. Then, golden energy swirls from him. Vitality builds through his body, amplified 5 times by his potion maxing perk. He activates Dragonification and Mana Flow, and his power builds. The Blue Dragon raid surpasses Eurydice's tomb in menace, with a lethal 6-mile radius. The Dragon Heart should release power slowly, but the Median spell Morai manipulates others' mana. Zephyr, possessing high concentration mana and vitality, pours them into the Dragon Heart. He coughs, someone offers healing, and the Dragon Heart's power lowers to 5%. He grunts in pain as the divine powers resist merging. The power drops again. Someone begs him to stop. His breathing grows ragged. Only another dragon can guide him, and they promise to tame his wild power. An ornate golden key blazes to life in her hand. He groans as someone gasps in shock. Then the loom of fate begins turning. A Tartarus lunges from the darkness with claws ready. Then he exhales in shock. He pants from exertion, then smirks as an observer acknowledges his performance. His dragon heart reaches 10%, yet still far below his past life's power. Dariel refuses to lounge after everyone's hard work, waving dismissively. Dariel announces he will gather weapon materials, then immediately slashes. He rips off his own scales, leaving his enemies stunned. Zephyr's scales burst at 19% power. A bloodied, white-haired, dark-winged figure appears. The elves present clear gold, an alloy forged from Zephyr's scales and Eurydice's rubies. The mage circle spell creates a circular boost aura, then Zephyr transforms via dragonification. A shadowy hand pours golden liquid into a cauldron and chants the language enchantment. He commands the forge to bind the enchantment and then declares it be reborn. A blinding burst of energy appears, and someone gasps that new items have arrived. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Humans and elves scramble as combat units split. Zephyr mutters about 2 weeks of prep. Someone remarks, 2 weeks will feel like 4 months. Then the commander roars to push east. The daily hunt continues, but golem production barely meets targets. The officer reports. Troops install magic circles everywhere as traps and recovery zones. Safe zones from Tree of Life branches block poison mist. Furnace's appetite stuns mages. The smith smirks at the challenge, while the hero's next move unfolds. The dragon heart's at a measly 5% power. He's got to push that number up before the raid. The monster shifts the fight suddenly, forcing the team to react fast. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. The night before the raid, the lake sat only 4 miles away. A tense quiet settled over the camp before someone noticed a missing meal. Zephyr stood and said he was turning in early, then walked away. Ophelia complained about her skin from the hard work. Then someone called out for a sparring match. Altair thinks back. A year ago, she'd never have believed it. She recalls rejections from years ago, when people doubted the dragon's existence. Memories of her solitary training and fierce battles flash quickly. Now she watches her comrades' silent faces, burdened by the upcoming choice. The battlefield lies still, marked by the trial's heavy toll. Zephyr passes the final trial and stands before a demonic hellscape. Dragons dive through flames, while Zephyr remains calm amid the chaos. Anyone who kisses me gets their power sapped, and they're forced to spill. For you, princess. The skill activates and my guy isn't lying a single bit. He's staring straight into the abyss and he doesn't even flinch. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. His eyes blaze with fierce resolve as the weight of his entire mission crashes. A huge dark hand reaches for her. Don't joke with me. Your voice is trembling. You're clearly shook, but as you know, the enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. The man confesses his helplessness, and Zephyr insists he speak before the skill expires. The man accepts repeated questioning, and they share a tender dance in golden light. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. He fumes in frustration, questioning his purpose, and another asks Millie what she thinks. He reminds Malia of something, and she pauses in response. He confesses he despises her. Silence. He knew from watching her criticize Princess Altair. Zephyr watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. The room's silence tells Zephyr that one wrong answer could close the deal. One mage dismisses his allies as assistants and says he belongs in the lab after the blue dragon falls. The golems complete their inspection and mutter that the humans have finally stopped talking. Golems are programmed to follow the magical commands inscribed in their bodies. The mage plans to reprogram the golems into servants loyal only to him. Blam. Get in position, everyone. Stand. Nobody said it out loud. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. They step forward. Most honorable goddess of light. The hidden clue changes how Zephyr reads the offer in front of him. He knew the path would be brutal, but seeing it now felt far worse. He questioned how to endure that misery again, but this time he would do better. When the ordeal ended, he vowed to claim what he truly wanted. Stars. He demanded strength for the hero, Once every obstacle and enemy was crushed, he commands Mercedes to make him her king. And a bright flash follows. Wings flap as the dragon builds, with green energy, ancient runes flaring. He stands at the gates of damnation, reborn, while dragons dive and fire engulfs the sky. Supporters flood the rear guard with heals and buffs as guardians form. 224 warriors hold the rear, while the advance guard reaches. The advance guard is just one man, his calm gaze piercing through absolute chaos. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Zephyr creeps toward the blue dragon, then transforms into dragon mode. Electric acceleration builds in Zephyr, while a lightning-wrapped beast plummets. The mist recoils as the sky groans under immense pressure. Winged creatures dive-bomb a lone warrior from the purple haze, their roar splitting. Lightning crackles across Zephyr's knuckles as he launches into the air. Wings spread wide. The impact rings out like thunder, then golden energy tears through the dark vines. The shoreline is choked with giant plants. So he scatters. The dragon's barrage hammers the golems, and the obelisk golems fall, though. These obelisks pump mana waves to a 230-foot radius. The mana road keeps expanding. Combat golems in the forest are operating normally. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. This big boy transmits video and audio, feeds data to the smaller Gray A golems. A sharp gaze focuses on a huge clawed hand emerging from the haze. A colossal form looms in the purple abyss as dragons coil. At the contaminated lake of vitality, a heartbeat gives way. Zephyr watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. The dragon roared upon their approach. And now Zephyr questions. This dragon's domain spans the entire great forest, but survival kept them from noticing. He never realized the true reason. And a claw now taps. A horned demon crouches atop a beast, and Zephyr notes it ignores him. Crimson eyes and dark horns appear as he realizes he has 28 minutes. He decides to start immediately, then his chain twirls. He attacks with his chain and charges toward the gates of damnation without slowing. The blue dragon isn't poisonous. Elves forgot its nature, living. The truth lies before them, waiting to be recalled. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. The dragon swallows Lord Zephyr. A huge silhouette shifts beneath the waves. The chain pulls taut. Dark wings unfurl, golden energy blazing around him. Panting and grinning, Zephyr watches the blue dragon drag itself. Demonic poison ravages the blue dragon within, making it Zephyr's only winnable fight. He delivers a vicious slash. The dragon roars. Having tied the dragon's jawbone tight, Zephyr heaves. He declares it is time to fish, and the water suddenly goes still. The beast flinches. Caught. Lightning then crackles across. A lightning-charged dragon screams through the rain. A leviathan appears with violet lightning, and Zephyr drags it ashore without hesitation. Out of the lake, poison ravages its body and disables healing. A sudden flap echoes across the water, and the team pulls with all their might. Tartarus is immensely strong, even with just 19% of the Dragonheart's power. Zephyr refuses to be pushed around, retaliating with relentless stabs and slashes. He aims for the soft tissue inside the beast's mouth, making it flinch. A loud crunch and slam draws all eyes. The dragon follows with screeching breath. Zephyr screams as he recalls the blue flame that burned down his forest. A command rings out to ready skills. Then a reassurance that Zephyr is unharmed. The Leviathan's eye narrows into a murderous slit, focusing on its prey before burning breath. The Leviathan's blast vanishes. A sparkle appears, and Zephyr reveals the silver key in his left hand. A blinding light appears as Zephyr activates the silver key, entering and leaving it in the same spot. He deliberately activated it inside the dragon's mouth, creating an opening to counter. Zephyr's lightning palm crackles. The dragon roars loudly and readies another breath. The dragon's chest swells. Zephyr grunts and slides to avoid the incoming dragon breath. A blast sounds, and the Leviathan throws its head back with a thunderous roar. Tartarus wobbles. Zephyr bursts its breath pouch, then summons Thorns of Sin. A command to freeze echoes as crimson thorns meet a storm of ice shards. A swoosh signals an arrow dipped in poison. It hits with a creak. A flicker of light, then a boom as a blinding surge of energy rises from the depths. F-whoosh! He crashes into that ancient horror with brutal force. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. He tells them it's because they lack combat experience you elves haven't yet faced. Still, the blue dragon already defeated them 3 years ago. What's the point? Someone realizes Zephyr speaks of the future, not the raid. This is his life's mission. A loud crack rings out as Zephyr draws his bowstring taut. Someone notes he has regained his old. He tells Kiara that he will not become king. Remembering the past, someone watches the Leviathan appear with violet lightning and unleash a blast. With Dariel's arrow piercing its scales, weak points are visible everywhere. This is not enough. He still cannot pinpoint the critical weak point. He decides to dig into Tartarus's body, but then his movements freeze. His hand is stuck, as if caught in something solid, and 2 crimson eyes lock onto him. He did not expect this to happen so soon. Something shifted, making his eyes go wide. He ordered a defensive formation and a mana road change. The priority was dealing maximum damage, but he warned of a signal on the golem screen. He studies the new ability and sees how it can rebuild his strength. He raises a light barrier as the west side magic circles deactivate. A blast tears through the air, followed by another. The water ripples without reason. Then a sudden force sends him tumbling away. The ground rumbles and a colossal surge of violet water rises skyward. The blue dragon's telekinesis moves objects without touch. The same dragon attacks in Chapter 63, lightning arcing towards Zephyr. Lightning arcs towards Zephyr, with no chance to dodge. Zephyr has studied this Leviathan across 3 raids. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. They recognize the sword and realize their foe has arrived. The monster shifts the fight suddenly, forcing the team to react fast. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. They think him too injured, but his fierce gaze forces the rearguard back. He scoffs a graze, wipes the rearguard. Dariel's skills alone reach the dragon. Her fastest arrow requires 4 seconds for a mile, then the dragon raid window shuts. Everyone holds their breath, waiting for one person to pry the door open. Pre-Molly. An arrow cuts the air. The blue dragon rages with violet energy and lightning. The blast pulverizes a redwood-thick branch, hinting at its destructive potential. Zephyr plants his feet, red eyes locked on the dragon. A violet blast tears through the battlefield. Steam and poison mingle in the air. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. A pained grunt escapes him as the dragon's tail connects. The dragon emerges with telekinetic fury. Then a blinding electric blast rips the air. He rockets forward, violet energy trailing, while a lightning bolt strikes the Tartarus. The dragon's claw cleaves the air, then blurs down and scatters blood. A crimson beam pierces the Leviathan's mouth, spraying violet ichor. The dragon crashes back into the poison lake, and water builds everywhere. Though the dragon returns to the water, the poison slows its healing. The poison water overflows, swallowing everything and spilling out rapidly. The plants are living factories, absorbing the poison to spawn something ugly. Powerful enemies are heading toward Lomi, and the forest lights up with twisted creatures. A huge beast rises into view with heavy footsteps. Goat watches for weakness, while Zephyr keeps the conversation under control. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Soldiers clear lakeshore monsters for Zephyr's duel. Golems fuse tower and elf magic. They prepared for a huge monster wave, but half the golems abandon the fight as control fails. The golems have already begun moving, heading exactly where the defenders feared. An incoming projectile swooshes toward them, causing his eyes to widen. Orders to hit the deck are followed by a crash and panicked screams. They have been discovered, and questions about traced skills arise before a warning of another salvo. That thing just screams dungeon boss, and it's barely breaking a sweat. Zephyr commits fully to the blow, showing no hesitation or retreat. The arrow shatters the sound barrier, and a shockwave tears across the lake. The blade strikes home with blinding energy, followed by a relentless flurry of slashes. Green lightning pierces the dragon's scales. The kill shot lands. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. Back at the temple, he sees the third perish. He seeks weaknesses. More intel is better. A lord's lackey smugly says, "No troops to the great forest." The princess sacrificed troops, money, and reputation, but already secured 2 dragon hearts. Capturing the ice dragon's heart would complete the mission, with a generous reward promised. An unexpected splatter indicates danger, but this time circumstances are different. He recognizes the trap they set, as Golden Tear's protective energy blocks harmful effects. He confirms he has all the items and activates the Grey transmission golem. No connection inside the silver key suggests the storm passed, but fight rages. The monster grabs a tree and snaps it, then a swarm pours down. The monster rips out the tree and hurls it. A huge eye looms above, as Dariel notes only 24 black dragon arrows remain. He fletches arrows with hippogriff feathers and gem seeds before firing. A blast rips through, followed by shockwaves as Blue Storm and Flame Dance clash. Dariel and Kiara's teamwork proves flawless, while the rest of the party contributes effectively. The problem is clear. There are far too many monsters to face. A huge beast descends with gaping jaws, and Zephyr welcomes the fight. The air splits as Zephyr aims. His bowstring hums with lethal power. The monster vanishes, then becomes a blur, crashing into the ruins. Monsters charge forward as a wave of dark energy slams into the soldiers. The monster crushes everything flat, then twitches as spikes rip through its hide. A soldier shouts, "Hold!" calls Ophelia, points to order someone down as air splits. Soldiers brace, refusing to let the enemy take this as explosions hurl fighters back. Absolute chaos reigns as Regulus curses his mission to guard the Tree of Life branch. Regulus knows the mission is critical, but hearing his knights scream makes standing guard torture. His family's barrier skill grows stronger with smaller areas. A flaming fist crashes down, followed by heavy footsteps and a coughing plea. A guard warns Regulus that the monster might be tricking them. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. The monster had mimicked her voice, using an imp acorn. The monster shifts the fight suddenly, forcing the team to react fast. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. That horn call, emergency. The magic circle's core is gone. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. Princess Ophelia rings Zephyr up. Things are falling apart. She contemplates the reward, then resolves to defeat the dragon in 10 minutes. Only the two remain. Zephyr steadies on a branch above the violet pool as a cry of shock sounds. A deep rumble shakes the area as the blue dragon dives, its breath pouch half charged. The blue dragon appears in a blinding storm. Stake of Faith, legend grade, unbreakable pillar on loan from the Pope. Why not? He's already barking into the comms. Rear guard, scrap the plan. We're going off script right now. A survivor gasps in relief, but his comrade snaps that maintaining the escape took immense. The Mockingbird's skill requires observing an entire sequence. Its copied version is far weaker in single use. A chance to seize the seed of the Tree of Life appears. The followers affirm their complete trust in Elder Heron, honored to accompany him on this. The elf elder flees, leaving his people demoralized inside a divine shield. Their supplies are ample, and a legendary warrior fights alongside them. A full team of healers supports them, and Zephyr carries a dragon heart. Princess Altair protects the army, lifting morale, but the elves face betrayal. Dariel shows immense strength, but the elves truly rely. The Elven King, linked to all elves via the Tree of Life, commands. Though born blind, Queen Sylvestia's paralysis came after giving birth. Dariel is flawless and adored, while a rival claims the Queen's archer role for the destined. Dariel's humility was no issue in good times. Elder Heron became the only elf the remaining elves could trust and believe in. One character claims he is doing right, while others say Dariel ignored. They claim Dariel never lifted a finger, even 4 years ago. The High Elves lost their most valuable treasures and the entire forest. 3 years ago, The blue dragon nested in the lake. The strongest high elves, holding the moon title, announced their departure and mocked those left behind. Dariel watched them go and realized the alliance existed only in name due. The kingdom is doomed either way. Dariel's abandonment reveals their foolish hope. Apologizing to Sylvestia, they cannot continue and seek hope at the ancient tower. The seed of life is atop the tower. They will plant it far away. They notice something amiss, then hear scraping and scratching. Zephyr stares at the enormous monster, but a detail feels inconsistent. Perhaps the elves built a new kingdom elsewhere. Zephyr orders one golem to distract the beast while another seizes the sealed box. The golem is flung from the beast's back, its attempt at distraction failing. The monster took the bait, while another golem used an exploding seed. He heads back with the sealed box, and it finally reaches. They finally snatched the box, and now it was. The box, something the demon craved for 3 years, started spinning. Masha, the Red Moon, Queen candidate 60 years ago. A handful of words she can't even understand anymore. A dark throne room, shadows everywhere, the crowned figure glowing red up high. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. The god asks Zephyr if he understands why he was summoned. Li Jian walks into a deadly trap, then outsmarts. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. The stone latches straight onto the mind's corruption, hatred, so anger. Remember, Red Moon and Black Moon. Remember your hatred for the elves. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Masha's demon form appears as a crimson beast. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Crimson eyes flare as he entrusts planning to the 2 elves and everyone. He calls for a round of applause, then urges rejoicing and congratulations. New demons have been born, and the 12 apostles are coming. 2 elves have been turned into demons by unknown forces. They slaughter everything in their path, growing used to their new power. Everything is ready, and troops are lent to defeat the blue dragon. Zephyr watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. Tartarus insists on enough power to destroy the elves. A demonic pressure wave shatters the floor, and a heavy stomp shakes the area. A gate opens before them, leaving everyone stunned and speechless. The pressure wave slams down. A violent vortex appears. It's been a long time since inferior creatures dared to stand before me. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. The offer becomes a test of how much danger Zephyr can still turn around. He warns the elves cannot defeat the dragon. Only the mightiest high elves earn the moon title. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. They wonder why the tree chose Sylvestia over them. Exiled from elven society, a young elf without the moon title ambushes them. The young elf agrees, vows to kill them at all costs, and confirms again. The demonic pressure wave cracks the floor beneath him. From the abyss, a cruel winged demon rises. Zephyr smirks. A demon chomps down, driven by relentless vengeance against the elves. A blinding surge slams the barrier. Green rings ripple outward as a roar follows. Black Moon's ancient demon skills wield poison and petrification to pump into the dragons. This becomes a race against time. Will the dragon die from the poison first? Before the fight even ends, Black Moon will have already achieved his goal. To heal its poisoned body, the blue dragon heads to the Lake of Vitality. She sees the trouble and reflects that perhaps this was always fate. Drawn by energy-stirring faint memories, she descends toward the tower and spots something shocking. She killed the guards who caused a commotion when she landed. Masha's been scratching away at the tower in vain. A small detail in the exchange gives Zephyr another angle to use. Gotei's proposal hangs in the air, while Zephyr studies the risk. A mystical settlement emerges, bathed in green glow. In the Broken Moon Queen's bedroom, she lies motionless as a heartbeat echoes. He stands blood-soaked, grinning like a nightmare. A heartbeat echoes in the dark before something devours its target whole. She steals the skills of whatever she devours, then leaps. The Elf Elder's acceleration skill was a cheap shot that caught everyone off guard. A colossal surge of crimson energy crashes down and shatters the ground. A magical slingshot propels Masha straight to the elves' forest town. After the journey, Masha lands inside the queen's bedroom. The broken moon queen faces her intruder, who snarls a demand. The intruder's cry summons a demon, its jaws wet with blood. Zephyr's sword comes down in a blinding arc, cleaving through the reaching enemies. The mentor wonders why his disciple made him stay behind. Then, a demon appears. The demon roars that his enemy must prepare to die, then fires lightning and explosive blasts. The dragon's maw collides with the warrior in a blinding flash then. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits. Still, he's got to be even faster to keep everyone safe. Killing the blue dragon isn't. That's exactly why the raid failed in my last life. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Zephyr reaches for the dragon heart, but his counter hits a purple energy burst. He loses control, shouting about a barrier no one could explain. A demon emerges from the dragon's stomach, revealing a hooded figure of dark power. Everyone screams in horror as the figure cackles, thanking them for the dragon heart. Tartarus gloats at the tree of life, and Zephyr shouts in rage. A companion warns them to flee, then dark energy explodes outward. The blast swallows the forest, forcing everyone to scramble back. Altair's party narrowly escapes annihilation, but fails to secure the dragon heart. The great forest of Elfin and Danakil's farmlands became severely contaminated wastelands. A brutal counter slammed into the crystal, shattering it on impact. He realized his prior failure was due to missing information, so he spins. The plan, team, and anti-poison measures were solid. The blue dragon had an old wound that never healed. He did not know about the wound at first. He figures it makes sense and shrugs it off, accepting the explanation. In his last life, he may have simply not struck the wound hard enough. He channels a language enchantment through his staff, commanding the target. A surge of blue energy appears. Then a colossal draconic power descends over. The blue dragon's language enchantment seizes its target, whose eyes blaze eerie blue. He cannot move. And it is not just him. Even a dragon heart is affected. Even with a dragon heart, the beast can quickly recharge its breath weapon. On the other hand, 7 seconds gives Dariel enough time to shoot twice. A deafening blast creates a crater. A Tartarus charges forward, its roar filling the air. Dariel plants his stance, golden energy exploding around him. The monster lets out a blood-curdling roar, and Dariel answers. The monster's breath pouch is completely destroyed. Zephyr fires multiple arrows using red meteor as the dragon powerfully swings it. The memory of fighting a blue dragon returns. A month-long mental war. He defeated the dragon after a month of dodging. A powerful impact rattles the earth as Zephyr narrowly dodges the monster's blow. Zephyr finds this challenge minor, recalling his past training as the world blurs. Bloodied spears rip from the earth with telekinetic power. The air ignites, and a sharp streak swiftly cuts through the unfolding chaos. Float away, he commands, and the spears obey instantly. Swoosh! A powerful blow lands, and a shocked eye snaps open, realizing someone vanished. The enemy realizes Zephyr has vanished again, igniting intense rage and overwhelming grief. An ominous sparkle appears as Zephyr, our warrior, quietly descends. Golden energy appears. Zephyr's eye flares crimson, and rapid hits shake. The beast roars with unfiltered fury, followed by a blinding blast. The world trembles from the impact, leaving only 11 arrows and suffocating pressure. A colossal dragon bares its jagged fangs, unleashing breath that could melt steel. An ominous rumble echoes through the darkness. Then Zephyr's fist ignites with burning. The blow pierces through the battlefield as a voice cries out. The distressed voice finally utters, Kaisaurus, as a huge dragon appears. The wielder apologizes to Kaisaurus, revealing the blade's legendary origin. The dragon-sung blade slams into the earth, revealing itself as the legendary Graham. A voice thanked Georgios for freeing his liege, yet the speaker could not. The voice spoke the name Artalis, identifying as a servant of Lord Kaisaurus. The voice forcefully commanded them to leave, threatening death upon. A colossal wave of power approached, then purple energy engulfed everything in its path. An enemy suddenly halts, prompting a check, but Kiara's thoughts turn. The Tree of Life begins shaking, a monumental event. Georgios uses a powerful counterblow, shattering the battlefield. Georgios is truly a dragon slayer, reminding others of his solemn past oath. A sickening crunch and trickle of blood signal a grave injury. He vows never to forgive, his oath unbreakable. He shouts the incantation again, his life force swirling. He uses a huge slash, preparing his next move for his lord. The entity prepares to fulfill its duty, as unstable power begins. Through an enchantment, its life force is sacrificed for a final blow. Li Jian faces the incoming blast wave, as the dancing blade of death uses its ultimate technique. The blade traded its life force for cataclysmic power. He does not hesitate, focusing solely on raw, overwhelming power. Li Jian activates Wild Dragon mode, burning mana to push forward while the clock screams. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Li Jian digs in his boots, then winds up the next counter. A fracture splits the enemy's defenses, and a surge of power scatters everything. He gasps, seeing the Tree of Life catch the blow, then calls out. A voice echoes in his skull, telling him to remember the true purpose of Dragon King style. After mastering that, a small parry redirects the entire blow. A sliver of power can erase a titanic enemy. All things are in constant motion, and power flows. It is like a great river's current, unstoppable and always shifting, making. A cruel entity with dark wings tears into view. The unstable power threatens to detonate, making the whole battlefield hold its breath. Zephyr watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. The object appears to have festered there for ages. He springs forward without hesitation, closing the distance. His eyes glow red with killing intent, and Tartarus flinches back. The serpent dives into the water, and the unstable power begins to detonate below. A violent purple blast appears from the depths, sending a shockwave outward. A dragon-like creature appears from the depths. He grabs hold of Tartarus as a blinding purple arc cleaves downward. Relentless impacts rain down on Tartarus as Zephyr presses. A panicked voice struggles to lock coordinates underwater. "Guide my arrows," he growls, pouring everything into the shot. The blow missed. It hit the Tree of Life instead. Gote's proposal hangs in the air while Zephyr studies. Sahak's control over the room makes every answer feel dangerous. Li Jian leaps into the air, sword raised high with golden energy. The gathered energy forms a brutal edge and splits the sky apart. He withstands the blast wave as a cruel clawed hand builds forward. A servant of Lord Kaisaurus vows to avenge him and orders Li Jian. Still, I can't simply turn back either. I remember that day. Sahak's presence keeps the pressure high as Zephyr measures his response. A small detail in the exchange gives Zephyr another angle. If I didn't have Kaisaurus's blood on my hands, or if I had never, he suggests they avoid each other, then recalls a memory from long ago. He remarks that 1,000 years have passed. Revealing him as the successor shocks everyone, and someone laments 1,000 years. He withstands the blast with golden energy. Then, a golden eye opens. Li Jian grinds his boot into the traitor as the sky cracks open with ancient power. A god emerges from the abyss portal, and Zephyr's gaze turns feral. At the god-tier abyss entrance, Zephyr kills the blue dragon. He aims to rip out the dragon's heart, and stabs his blade deep. A god-tier energy blast appears across the field. Zephyr delivers a brutal swing. The blow lands, sending shockwaves and debris, while Silver Key pins the dragon's body. A scream tears across the field, recalling a moment from his last life. He demands the Dragonheart's power, but only dragons or demons can absorb it. Just like that, the Dragonheart and Ramiel's Mana Stone both end up with Zephyr. Tartarus's right hand now possesses the prize. An angry voice mocks the fool's satisfaction. A cry rises. One character notes the listener saw the cultist's fate. A scent mixed with human essence intrigues someone. Zephyr is surprised to meet a dragon lord, and calmly introduces himself. A character announces a god-tier entrance from the abyss as the sky rips open. A single crimson eye blazes in the darkness. An ancient menace has arrived. Someone vanishes, shocking the onlookers, then taunts that they thought they had him cornered. The blow exposed Zephyr's weakness, and his blind charge at an unknown foe was suicide. The stranger pointed out Zephyr's dragon form time limit. He confirmed only 48 seconds remained, and he had to force his ultimate move despite lacking power. The enemy proposed a deal. Spare Zephyr in exchange for revenge against all elves. The dragon claims to hold no grudge against Zephyr, then commands him to stay. Language enchantment weaves magic into words, and the dragon points directly at Zephyr. He swears at the dragon, finds his feet stuck. The dragon frowns, raises a barrier, and warns Zephyr not to interrupt or blow. He collapses from the enchantment, his body wrecked. The Sword of Light, forged from primeval light, appears. An inferno surrounds Zephyr, yet the sword fails to activate. He recalls using the sword with equal stats, questions the mana. He studies the threat in front of him and waits. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Finding only his feet was a huge mistake. He can still blow while standing right here. He used this moon skill back when he was a high elf. Venom Spear, Ramiel's exclusive, condensing poison into a spear that can pierce even dragon scales. A blood-red eye blazes open in the dark. Something ancient stares back. That sound, the scream of something far stronger than him writhing in agony, he wishes he could savor those sweet screams longer. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. Thanks to you, the tree in the Lake of Vitality just got squeaky clean. He figured Black Moon must have the same skills, since the stone was originally. Didn't expect the tree to help him like this. Zephyr's heart is pierced, cutting off his mana. He crushes Ramiel's mana stone, revealing a demonic stone filled with poison. The rearguard senses the poison spreading, and the Tree of Life revives. Zephyr stands at the poison's center, and the blue dragon's death is confirmed. Having taken the dragon heart, Zephyr orders cleanup as the crowd cheers. They ask Zephyr if he hears the cheers. The little dragon lord plummets, cries out for Zephyr. Then, energy catches him. Something huge unfurls. Then a quiet voice thanks the little dragon lord and promises to repay him. A voice promises to help now, and roots snap around him with a solid thud. Toxic horror from the crushed mana stone gushes everywhere, while the Tree of Life's roots revive. The team concludes that Zephyr succeeded, yet he now doubts his own contribution. The demon copies Zephyr's skill and slams him. Zephyr knows he must heal with energy control now. The vine user calms the knight, explaining the vines are his limbs and thanking him for saving him. He expresses his gratitude as the vines pull him to safety. A golden dome of vines and blossoms appears. Someone urges Zephyr to follow as the toxic horror continues. The voice praises the name Zephyr. Then a dream shows his mother speaking of his father's departure. She wanted to raise him normal, somewhere safe, not like... The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. He jerks awake. Was that a dream? Don't move yet, Dragon Lord. Whoosh, a swirl of light. He studies the threat in front of him and waits. A shimmer confirms it. Someone gasps, is that the actual tree? In his past life, that raid failed. He never met this being. He reads Zephyr's body signals. Oh, you're uncomfortable? Yggdrasil waves off their caution, insisting he means no harm. The vibe shifts as Zephyr remembers the blue dragon's language curse. Yggdrasil acknowledges that Zephyr helped his children and protected his wife. He then describes a bilateral agreement of give and take. He realizes the upholder of order is simply thanking him with no hostility. He remembers Dariel describing his father as a demigod, nearly. He schemes to secure a deal, then asks about side effects. He understands. Recalling his heart power rose to 23% after the demon fight. Zephyr's training was all for the blue dragon heart. Tartarus reveals the blue dragon heart surgery, then shoves the heart. A dragon heart is forced into Zephyr's chest. A voice commands, bracing. A blinding energy column explodes skyward as Zephyr realizes his mission's purpose. The plan is to alter the air with mana. Over millennia, the world transforms, becoming livable. The process is now locked in. Suddenly, a mother's voice coos, holding her small, warm, sweet baby. The mother thanks Lord Ig, overjoyed by her baby. Zephyr resolves to act, no matter the cost. The dragon heart settles into place as Zephyr decides to plant it. Ig explains he will be defenseless during the transplant, then asks Zephyr. Ig asks how he will die, shocking Zephyr. The blue dragon heart fuses, radiant energy surging through Ig. Ig knew she hadn't revealed secrets. Ig remained certain, disregarding prophecy, as Zephyr recognized her mind-reading ability. Zephyr refused to reveal his time travel, but Ig sensed he still hid. Golden chains bound Zephyr, securing the dragon heart. An oath bond, a spell, appeared on his hand, enforcing total secrecy. He recognizes this mark from a future fight with the Tartarus leader. Feeling its pain, he is warned not to stare, bound by confidentiality from revealing its secrets. The Absolute One binds Zephyr and the 7 dragons, making them powerless. He killed the blue dragon, because surviving dragons become destructive during Doomsday. He sees a future where people become the Demon Lord's puppets. The required procedure began, but then something impossibly strange occurred. A female voice asks Lord Ig why he hesitates. Knowing her body cannot last, she speaks softly of her lonely past, begging for a child outside. He asks a woman to teach him how to truly understand and experience love. He tells Lord Ig that a single woman profoundly affected his world. He feels the world became incredibly precious, assuming Lord Ig understands this feeling. A huge dragon heart is brutally forced into his chest, intensifying the painful procedure. A blinding flash appears, and Tartarus requests Zephyr end his life later. He accepts this as the one favor, while immense energy begins to surge. The energy continues to surge powerfully, and then an object splashes. He planned to threaten Yggdrasil using the heart and Ramiel's mana stone. He felt confident about the situation, but Yggdrasil warned the princess was not ready. The dragon's heart successfully fused with the princess, meaning Zephyr now had. Inside his inner world, Zephyr prepared to delete the dragon's overmind, remembering their month-long previous fight. He prepared for the mental confrontation, questioning if this was the dragon's final form. The dragon declared Zephyr's blow not bad, then questioned his shock. Artalis realized Zephyr didn't recognize her true form, then invited the Dragon Slayer. Artalis, in a tiny form, told Zephyr to stop fighting and pour. The small dragon's true form held immense power, foreshadowing significant future events. The Tree of Life, father of all incarnations, appears to heal the dragon chick. A voice questions watching idly, sensing a strange power within. When Zephyr reappears, he will be completely changed. Someone feels honored to witness one of the great dragon's polymorphs. Every creature prefers its original form, but this dragon breaks that pattern. Even weakened by poison, the dragon admits defeat, then turns to this space. This space brims with Kysaurus' energy, and the Lord allows Zephyr to wield it. Sensing his lord's displeasure, the dragon comments that he is upset. A servant agrees the Lord ignores humans, and Zephyr finds her smile cute. He recalls being stronger in past imaginary space, praises. For the next few days, he notes experience boosted his fighting strength after awakening. He asks what is bothering the other and notices his troubled expression. Isn't it obvious? My body has been liberated from that tiresome mission. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Every act of the hands reveals the soul. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Based on what I saw as we fought, I like you. Plus, Zephyr studies the threat in front of him. Zephyr studies the new ability and sees how it can rebuild. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. He asks if she likes anything besides tea, then offers. He tells her not to ask, and a surge of energy appears. A huge surge of energy tears through the air with a blinding flash. He calls out for something to unfurl, and golden light bathes, Golden light washes over her, and a figure asks why she is there. He asks again why she came, then admits he has been waiting. A flash of golden light pulls them into an intimate embrace. An observer comments, "Another ancient god piece has found a new master. The future of this world is even more unpredictable then." What's this? Could Lucius the Holy One have killed them? Still, assuming the Holy One did kill the twin knights, if I kill him, the seat of power and strength stands before them. The Lord's throne is empty. As the last millennium ends, the one who will free them from doom appears. The title, Destroyer of Fate, is spoken. Zephyr picks up the legendary sword. With a straight face, Zephyr asks for the princess. Zephyr strides through royal doors, Yggdrasil cleansed. Allies annihilate every monster mercilessly. Elves freeze under golden trees, eyes locked on something unseen. One survivor thanks his rescuers, but another warns it is too soon. Two elves gape in disbelief, and a grand introduction presents. A child cries for their mother, and the queen soothes them with a gentle promise. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Everywhere, filth and wreckage remain, and the people's sadness cannot be swept away. An elf stares at where their house stood. Peace revives suppressed emotions. Burials end as grief settles. The Blue Dragon raid is announced. People thank Princess Altair, Danakil, the Temple of Light. The elves declare themselves children of the tree, forming an alliance with Princess Altair. The crowd applauds and cheers loudly. Edwin's eyes widen. Elf-human hatred makes the plan insane, but Altair chuckles. Edwin misses the big picture. Altair claims the hatred ensures the plan works, though it seems. Altair urges looking ahead and questions the goal. Altair ticks, dismisses the idea as foolish, and smirks like she owns. After admitting he could do nothing, Polaris left Danakil abandoned. Altair swoops in not for humanity or Cayenne. With the long war approaching, they need allies like Elven might, and Danakil's farmland. Her goals align with ours from the start. Elves bonded to the Tree of Life never betray. With the legendary sword in hand, Zephyr prepares for fight. A footstep sounds, a voice calls Kiara, and a cheer appears. A voice teases Zephyr for sulking alone, while a party rages inside. Someone hands him an apple and scolds him for throwing food. An elf tells Dariel Zephyr's crew barely showed. It feels like 10 months. Dragon dead, they return to Elfenheim. An archer awkwardly corrects herself as the queen's head archer. He stares speechless, and his companion declares they are leaving. Under a star-drenched sky, a magnificent palace appears. Zephyr strides through its echoing corridor. Zephyr takes another step, but a great and terrible thing still awaits him. Something stirs in the shadows. Then he throws open the huge doors. The knock echoes through the throne room, freezing everyone. A suitor boasts of plucking a star for the princess, while another kneels to pledge his life. The room still hasn't registered the menace who kicked open the doors, even before he became an adult. Zephyr realized he would be alone forever, but that was fine. The name Altair is repeated, then a voice stammers, "Polaris," before denying this is the true Polaris. Acknowledging his impossible goal, Zephyr heard a woman needed to choose a leader. Demanding if they knew him, Zephyr stood over the guards, broken at his feet. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. The princess has changed ever since Lord Zephyr appeared. "Don't worry, the Tree of Life will protect me. By the way, I wonder how Zephyr is doing. He's actually quite nervous. He is challenged to slay the dragon in under 10 minutes. He grows nervous, but recalls the Kiss of Darkness, an ancient Median spell. The Kiss of Darkness mind controls the kissed. Zephyr pulls her close, dark magic crackling. They kissed repeatedly, but just as they grew passionate, something interrupted. Altair stops Zephyr, saying it is not time, and he suspects her hidden feelings. He agrees to let Altair string him along for now. A lone eye widens in the silence of the throne room. A rustle sounds as a woman in a white nightgown freezes against the chamber door. He hesitates, heart pounding, realizing it was okay for him. Still, he is so nervous that he forgets everything. She flinches. He pulls her close, and her face flushes crimson. He squeezes her hand, then leans over her in the soft glow. He believed he would be alone forever, but their fingers now intertwined. She offered him great love, though her path led through a field of thorns. He thought he walked the thorny path alone, but she was always beside him. They walk hand in hand toward the light, leaving the thorns behind. She lies still on the bed, her hands bound, waiting in the candlelit silence. Then, I realize something else. This must be love. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. At least, that's what it's supposed to do. He snatches the informant up, demanding who supplied the poisons. A dagger pins a sleeve to the wall. Kiara slips into a memory of a face and a name, then turns. Kiara seizes the idea, thinking it perfect, but her father quietly interrupts. He asks why she looked so sad, and Kiara can no longer avoid. That is why her mother was punished, they claim. Her fist strikes something, shaking the room with bottled-up pain. Kiara's mother steps out. She rushes over, curious about her father hearing. Surreal. Mother awake, father finally incarnated. He notes mana blockages when she shoots. He tells her she doesn't have to carry this fight alone. The training for the moon title isn't done yet. A swift dash carries Zephyr forward, just as a letter arrives. The door creaks open, setting events in motion as Zephyr demands. A messenger freezes upon spotting Zephyr, then steps forward with an urgent sealed. She narrows her eyes at the letter, recognizing its seal. The group announces that Kiara and Daryl are officially welcomed into the inner circle. Kiara teases Daryl for planning to leave alone, then reveals her mother came. Kiara holds out a precious gift, recalling her mother's words about her destined path. The last tree of life seed is hers. She must flee, raise it, survive. The reason it is her is that her parents deliberately made. She stops upon hearing she is the miracle child, then confesses. She now knows her parents have always watched over. A quiet thank you slips out, and the hostess praises her incredible performance. The high priest declares that both are now key members. With the documents already laid out, she presents 2 specific papers. Lord Lucius is revealed as the Holy One, thanks to Zephyr's reincarnated memories. Investors demand blood as lawsuits multiply. Then the third revelation: there was never. The temple's finance committee seeks a scapegoat for every sin, and worse follows. Fallout from Olden's disappearance, and Gertrude draws adventurers to the third parish. Angry mobs, lawyers, and knights swarm the district, demanding refunds. The parish is bankrupt after the tomb raid. The riddle's answer starts with a legendary weapon. A mysterious figure greets Zephyr as if expecting him, then reveals the ancient sword. At Lindell Fortress in Altair's territory, an elderly attendant opens. The door swings wide, revealing Erdios. The crowd appears as Zephyr is declared the top priority target. Yet he remains. Gion's cold stare silences the hall, and the first fool to challenge him is. Lucas humiliates Mercenary King Gladys in a direct. The Mercenary King falls without schemes, and Lucas insists he is nowhere near. Lucas fought holy warriors and demons, yet ranks 6th. The most powerful is Blade Master John Howe, followed by Henrik Roland. 5th Galatea, Blazing Witch of the Woods, 6th himself. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Lucas was a legend among knights, so his list goes viral across. Lord Ophelia over here took down the twin knights. Though the list is 5 years old, it still draws fighters seeking. In his past life, Zephyr learned that word of the list would bring every fighter. Absolute chaos. Fighters swarmed, while a mysterious woman smiled knowingly over a document. John Howe, Blade Master, also known as Sorceress Elba Laren, could ruin. Zephyr reveals that her true form is the white dragon Menemoshna, who taught him Ancient. Tartarus exclaims about a dragon disciple, says he never heard. Zephyr explains that his master's incarnation returned to her main body 6 years ago. Tartarus wonders if Zephyr is lying, then cannot believe that the individual has actually arrived. Still, I'd look suspicious if I didn't question Erdios right now. Only Zephyr, me, and Ned know the future. If you ask me, the timing's sketchy as hell. He studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. The enemy turned Matthias into a spy and planted bait using Olden's demon form. A figure finds Persephone's deadly poison, despite it not belonging here. Those accused of betrayal must hunt the real culprit outside. They see Ned is not alone. He assigns Holy One and Ned rolls. She shuts her eyes, weighing the danger ahead. So, Lord Zephyr, you're saying this whole disciple and sword business might... He studies the threat in front of him and waits. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. The Tartarus leader demands Zephyr's identity, though rumors may already spread. He admits fear of the White Dragon, then asks what Zephyr wants from them. He stops them, surprised to have hooked such an important target so quickly. He suggests moving elsewhere, his cold smirk daring anyone to challenge him. The Demon Lord commands Zephyr to crawl like a dog, startling the boy. He loses control of his body and panics as it moves on its own. The Demon Lord praises Zephyr's name and invites him, stating he wanted a different upbringing. Hattie panics at a murderous glint, yet the cat insists Erdi can handle it alone. A month flies by, and Erdi dismisses the hunt, promising to handle her later. Hattie recalls Erdi saving Leisha Fortress alone, while stronger monsters blow and he fights. He lured and toyed with the boss before killing. Hattie now sees his goodness. In 6 months, he cleared 3 territories, then remembered the princess and rushed off. The Baron orders Erdi to take his daughter. Hattie follows, and the cat shrugs. The cat warns Hattie about Erdi's recklessness. She secretly tails him. The cat approves. She pulls out water cooled by a cooling spell. Then a twitch occurs. With a surge of raw power, he shatters the enchantment. He asks if this guy's a dragon minion or packing a dragon heart. Doesn't matter either way. His master said never go easy on types like him. Still, here's why Erdios is just built different. 3 reasons. The white dragon bone armor neutralizes cold, heat, and poison, letting Erdios fight recklessly. Erdios fights a dragon without a heart. The hero already has the armor and recognizes Requiem. The hero reveals Graham, an ancient dragon-slaying blade dripping blood, making Erdios stare in shock. He reveals a dragon heart in his chest, and then holds up a cup of water. He pours the liquid carefully, betting that not a single drop will spill. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. If Erdios wins, he earns the right to nickname his opponent, recalling how he followed him for 12 minutes. The opponent roars with laughter as their blades clash, energy crackling and air shuddering. Erdios counters, warning that defeat would make him Tartarus's lapdog. Their blades scrape and grind, followed by a deafening clang. Fighting one-handed, Erdios swings his huge sword with deadly precision. Erdios uses his armor's full power with a thunderous cry. Zephyr cries out as a blast appears. Hattie realizes Erdios is even stronger now. Zephyr leaps forward. Erdios grins, praising Zephyr's strength and expressing his admiration. A confident Erdios calls this a true fight. Energy builds around him. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. He studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. He remains trapped as the looming shadow of a dragon appears above him. The huge dragon continues its assault, pinning Zephyr to the ground. The onlookers hold their breath as Zephyr fights for survival. He declares war. He stands in the roaring arena, blade drawn, facing his betrayer. Just before Zephyr's blade struck the traitor, Mercedes stopped him to reveal. A huge shockwave erupted, and a voice said the journey ahead would be long. After endless trial and error, Mercedes told Altair he was her final student. She wished she could heal his wounds, then whispered one last hope. Something streaks from the night sky and yanks Altair's spirit away. Unable to fight the pull, he suspects a trap. His spirit fizzles and vanishes in a hiss. Then silence swallows. In the void, he blinks groggily, then chokes on dust and wonders why a spirit can't breathe. A voice catches Altair, then declares that he will become dinner. She considers whether to grill or boil Altair. A story credit panel appears. Then Altair becomes the Blade Master's disciple. His master trains him until her form fades. Then the man grovels. Zephyr's counter silences Erdi, who lives solely for fight. Erdi trained under a dragon, yet all his foes were pathetically weak. Despairing that fight held no thrill, Erdi then met his true rival. That warrior toyed with Erdi without revealing his real strength, sparking a rematch. Erdi gets philosophical. Raising a dog isn't just about guard duty. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Here's your treat. That gauntleted fist rockets upward. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Those last teachings were her dying wish, a burden he now carries. Zephyr flinches, stunned, then retorts about the Dragonheart wager. Mercedes dislikes his attitude but admits his victory. She insists on a safety leash. And 2 days later, the situation shifts. 2 days later, the third parish of the Temple of Light trembles under. Altair can't believe his eyes. These guys are supposed to be temple knights. Maybe their whole units have been compromised. The rot runs deep. Still, couldn't they just fabricate the evidence they need? 2 scouts arrived early to survey the area. A character asked how long they were stuck holding hands, recalling their departure from the Great Forest. A pulse of magic surged outward, and then a sharp whistle cut. She declared the work done and handed each companion an upgraded cloaking ring. Zephyr tells the princess he can handle the advance, then warns of sneaking powerhouses. He orders Ophelia to identify the woman, as the third parish holds cursed items. He notes Lord Ned built the hellhole. The team will follow his lead. He stands amid the rubble of a god-tier arena, confronting a nightmare. Li Gion escapes the arena, only to find the princess needs gear. Zephyr schemes about using Milia's intellect, unaware of the new trap awaiting him. Everyone is ordered to the third parish, heading toward Lindell Fortress. Erdi is horrified to see the Silver Lion mithril helmet in training mode, believing an unseen figure taunts Erdi as a slow mutt. Then Erdi screams. Zephyr relaxes, his helmet fully controlling Erdi. Years later, most people lean on Erdi excessively, never noticing. Panting and exhausted, Erdi can barely choke out a single word. Still, no, he never took responsibility for anything. He's dead set this time if that fool screws up. Glug, glug. He pours a bottle of wine right. Still, there's still one headache left before he heads over. He wondered why the Sword of Light would not activate, suspecting a stat issue. A voice forbade him, and though he needed answers, he refused. The world warped around him, and he arrived in an armory as a dog. He commended the weapons and asked if they were for him, then struck twice. He hands Zephyr a toy hammer and points at a distant tree. He asks incredulously if he can carve a squirrel. To prevent wandering, the man roars at Zephyr to get to work immediately. A huge black cauldron crashes down, and he decides it is time to leave. Flames or magic consume the air above as the underground waterway beneath the temple. True to its name, the temple is a fortress of huge walls and sacred protections. Stalked for a year's siege, it stops Tartarus worshippers and the Smiling Woman. This time it's completely locked down, but the sewage waterways stay unsealed. He identifies the perfect backdoor for intruders and then proceeds to use it. He reaches out, swiftly grabbing the Labyrinth Maker, a space-distorting artifact. He observes the install point is hidden. Then a rhythmic thumping sounds. A tremor shakes, and the livid gods demand who designed these humiliating entry requirements. A system chime confirms the dance requirement is met. He threatens to kill the other if he fails. Then a boot stomps. A strange energy surge leaves them breathless and freezing. Then dead silence. A voice cuts through the light, commanding them not. He studies the threat in front of him. Zephyr kneels before the High Oracle, and she is almost impressed by his audacity. The High Oracle demands to know Zephyr's purpose. He flatly states it is a robbery. The air tightens with tension. Then a sharp snap breaks the stillness. The Oracle cracks a joke, and the silver-haired menace asks if she'll spare him for that body. The Holy One's estate appears, with a table full of fine wine and bread. Golden evening light bathes the gathered family, yet peace never lasts long. The Holy One explains his recent busy schedule, as the raid cost the Order many temple nights. Reappointing every vacant rank was his priority, but he still enjoys family time. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. He questions if Mercedes is even human as dread creeps back. Isolation needs priest referral and majority vote. Pope promises vote if Zephyr clears tomb. Tartarus cultists and high ranks make Zephyr wish they'd openly oppose him. He decides safety before freedom, then whispers to Claudia to endure. A sudden lurch tilts everything, and he cries out for Claudia. He smells the sleeping mist and knows they are ambushed, but quickly activates his rosary's inventory spell. He fires a spell blast without hesitation, then shouts into the darkness demanding the assassin show himself. A cold voice orders him to sit down as the assassin reveals himself. A smoking skull dangles from the enemy's hand, and Zephyr finds no opening. The snake tattoo identifies him as Persephone's assassin. Zephyr braces for action. Zephyr's final counter pierces Tartarus's defenses and hits its core. Tartarus staggers as its dark energy dissipates, and the battlefield falls silent. The shattered ground and smoke reveal the aftermath of Zephyr's decisive counter. Mercedes' narrowed eyes signal her awareness of the hidden threat. The traitor steps back, his smirk fading as Gion rises unscathed from the crater. Gion's fist speeds toward the traitor, landing a clean hit with immediate effect. The facility is locked down tight with force fields and guards, plus hidden runestones in secret spots. All the runestones connect through linear magic circles, each serving a single purpose. Any attempt to escape triggers an alarm, and it shrieks loudly. The alarm keeps screaming, and the interrogator tilts his head, asking if he understands. Zephyr warns the prisoner that time is short, and the captive twitches. The prisoner boasts of the Waterway Knights, but Zephyr sees the priests about to leave. Figuring out the remote cure for the poison, Zephyr demands the method. Zephyr asks if the prisoner's knights will save him, then says they are asleep. He holds up the rosaries as evidence. Guards in the waterway are unconscious. The villain sneers that the Holy One only worsens things, and a clasp snaps shut. A solid blow strikes, and the air shakes with the force of impact. A lightning palm blow sends force tearing through the entire room. He is stunned. His perfect awareness missed something. A strange scent catches his attention. Then a lightning bolt blasts the warrior backward. The bracelet grants invisibility even at close range. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. He studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. No, you're perfect for this. He doesn't listen to anyone weaker. He injects poison to enhance his body. At peak dosage, he leads dragon raids. A masked warrior with crimson eyes appears. And Zeph. Besides, I know you can do this, Ned. Deactivate cloaking. The only human who's received the Elf Queen's blessing. He returns from the Blue Dragon Raid, and his confident grin shows he succeeded. He drops his invisibility, and the demons freeze, realizing they cornered a threat. Zephyr stands victorious, then recalls a past event involving 12 decisive steps. Lord Ned has been gone an hour, carrying seeds he obtained. If mana is channeled into the seeds and they are watered, a groan shakes. A brutal command orders stopping all movement. A voice warns he might need. Zephyr makes a dramatic entrance, his powerful presence announced by a single step. He uses a burst of power, his gaze immediately finding. He acknowledges the master, who then angrily demands. He casually shrugs, explaining he disliked the interior design and the tacky sofa. He indicates the room, which then gets completely demolished. The master laments his expensive furniture, while Zephyr laughs, planning to destroy everything. The master wails in frustration, while Zephyr calmly announces that it is time. A blood-stained pot awaits as a large piece of meat is dropped inside. He prepared seasoned blue dragon ribs, made tender by Ramiel's potent poison. He extracted poison from the mana stone, forming a venom spear he would liquefy. He prepared for a test bite as the ribs slow-cooked with dragon breath. The ribs' intoxicating aroma almost tricked an enemy. The master appeared, explaining he heard the commotion, then warned Zephyr against tantrums. He questioned the master's words, as Tartarus became distracted by the meat's marbling. Tartarus quickly snatched a piece of meat, prompting Zephyr's furious outburst about trust. He recounted his relentless training for the promised Sword of Light, now feeling betrayed. Someone tried to calm Zephyr, explaining a misunderstanding. He regretted trusting their lies, accepting the swindle. He declared the fighting show over, stating he would now. He dismissed them, ordering them to leave. A furious god condemned. Tartarus declares his intent to teach someone a lesson. Followed. Characters react with surprise, then dismay, realizing a familiar problem has returned. The others are baffled by the god's compliance. Then a master congratulates Zephyr. He receives 2 sealed letters from the gods. Explanation. He faces his ultimate decision. Align with the goddess. Zephyr slams his palm onto the seal, sending shockwaves through the divine realm. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Onlookers shout that Zephyr is losing it, pointing at his silver hair. Zephyr's palm strikes the seal. Green energy bursts out. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits. Asked if he used Eastern arts as an assassin, the masked foe dives, blade shining. He scoffs, planning to beat the truth out. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Smoke billows across the area as a figure in a dark cloak steps forward. A voice bellows for the smoke to clear, and something begins to stir. The Holy One vanishes, leaving his ally behind, which shocks. Ned realizes that Lucius's retreat is smart, because raw power is useless. Still, pulling it off in a one-on-one brawl, 4 years ago I was in isolated training. Punishment couldn't go anywhere. Even if I pretend that's true, then you've been duped too. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. The traitor had been with them since birth. 4 years ago, his betrayal to the Eastern warriors wiped out the guild Persephone. Since then, he had hunted the traitor across the entire world without rest. Finally, a solid lead on the traitor's location appeared. Energy twists violently around him as he recalls his final mission: punishing. Zephyr's inner power appears, eyes blazing, as the sealed letter uses divine force. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. It resembles a Shoggoth, a mind-corrupting monster. His heart hammers like a drum. Then, divine light explodes. Something heavy slams down, and his eyes widen as celestial energy floods. He wonders if she used cloaking. Then flames roar. A beast's cry tears through the chaos, and his left side is dead weight. Zephyr's left side erodes and paralyzes, his body reacting instinctively. He wonders if that woman is like him. Then a dark-haired figure emerges. Golden chains burst from the ground and snap into place around. An ally cheers for the throw and commands Lord Ned to finish the enemy. Then a flash signals. Sahak's control over the room makes every answer feel dangerous. To activate it, you must stay in direct physical contact facing each other. Promise me you won't abuse this power. Just as Lord Zephyr says, the room's silence tells Zephyr that one wrong answer could close. In Olden's hideout, the Elf Queen's fine print breaks. That ancient power is history now. Zephyr groans and collapses onto the bloody floor. There are no survivors here. The bugs went berserk after Olden died. Some noblemen took sick leave. Zephyr warns that no one outside the order is trustworthy, then promotes the disciple. The disciple humbly vows to honor the Dragon King's name. The disciple declares his first mission to free. The master tells the disciple, by his return, a woman clutches. Leah's brother wishes her happy birthday. Then, her master speaks about. Zephyr orders the group to gather supplies and move to the next site. Within 2, she realizes her actions will be directly linked to her master's status. A disciple promises to protect the master. Jinrang's scheme to pit disciples against each other. Zephyr, a shadow disciple, soaked up poison and camouflage. Something gnaws at her. 8 years ago, An older disciple wielded poison like theirs. The master never publicly acknowledges anything beyond martial arts. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Ophelia pauses, realizing something. Zephyr's scar has grown larger during. Ophelia feels her heartbeat quicken while watching the enemy outside. Defenders watch day and night, but without siege weapons, they fill time. The blue dragon's attention is theirs, but one last piece is missing. A shocked cry draws attention to the inspector's sudden appearance. A heavy footfall breaks the balance, and she realizes the true price. A voice denies the impossible. Then Matthias Grimmer greets the gathered nobles. Matthias Grimmer announces himself as an ex-inquisitor and captain of the Holy One's raid. Matthias failed as a childhood candidate for the Holy One's seat, yet became Lord. The speaker calls Matthias an imposter, explaining he turned into a demon and was killed. The body was incinerated without a trace, confirming he was. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. He studies the threat in front of him. He revealed the trap caught all enemies. Matthias then declared himself senior inquisitor. The trap detonates, and Matthias reveals the cruel truth. She lost. A venomous voice accuses the Holy One, and even as a senior inquisitor, he does not hesitate, unless the Holy One is immediately detained and questioned. If the accusation is false, a holy relic materializes above him. The angel demands a confession. Matthias accuses the holy. The relic of the self-blinded inquisitor Themis senses every sound, including a liar's tremble. When the relic senses a lie's anxiety, Zephyr's muscle control lets him fake emotions. The relic charges up, yet the arrow fizzles out. The arrow vanishes, stunning the crowd, while a furious stomp echoes. Cornwall, a first-class inspector, recalls corrupt holy ones and endorses. Benjamin, a Vatican relic official, signs off, and the woman trembles under an overwhelming presence. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. He roars, questioning why they surround him while waiting for another. He asks if they are glad he is here. He declares he will burn the name Matthias. Gertrude speaks honestly, saying all she wants is to know if Lord Olden is alive. Lightning crackles across the sky as a blast rips. Ophelia crashes in, demanding how he can take this seriously. Shocking. The crowd recognizes Ophelia as one of the 10 great warriors, wondering why she is here. A man next to Ophelia looks familiar, as Father Benjamin is questioned about. They question if hypnosis planted false memories and point to Lord Ned Stryer. Ophelia roars that the man was once her servant, then calls everyone. She declares the person is not Lord Matthias, noting fried clothes and broken mana flow. The crowd exclaims it is a woman, not Lord Matthias. The woman cackles wildly, then congratulates Ophelia on ruining her plans twice. She then addresses another person, asking if they recognize her face. She calls that person a traitor and swears to kill them before day ends. She pulls out the ocarina of Hypnos, and a cracking sound shatters. A burst of dark purple energy flashes, causing widespread panic. Zephyr knew chords for controlling Shoggoths, but this one defies them. A Shoggoth tears through in its evolved basilisk form. A screech rips from Tartarus, then a figure grins and challenges Zephyr. A piercing screech tears across the battlefield as a mercenary steps up. Everyone wonders what Tartarus is. A blinding blast flattens soldiers. A cruel claw shreds the ground, followed by a heaven-shaking roar. Soldiers scream a warning as the commander of monsters is revealed. Soldiers scream in panic while a veteran warns that scattering means death. Zephyr seizes an older man, his blazing eyes able. The basilisk's petrifying gaze turns soldiers to stone. Then, it lunges. A priest uses a wave of holy light, making the basilisk's body crumble. A purifying circle flares. Father Benjamin's kill plan needs Cornwall to buy time. Father Cornwall vows to hold the line while men haul out a siege weapon. A stone statue groans to life, and its golden spear ignites with divine fire. The impact rattles the ground, and the basilisk's shriek pierces. Tartarus sends out a wave of dark corruption, then swings. Rapid blows hammer against the barrier, while a golden spear spins. The relic catches the weapon with perfect timing. Basilisks corrupt minds and ignore physical attacks, but a priest's purification neutralizes them. Every record mentions a second mouth on the basilisk's tail. It casts a spell. The monster shifts the fight suddenly, forcing the team to react fast. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. The Cardinals raise the holy daggers together, and golden mana blasts skyward. A golden burst from the ornate mirror completes the dagger's divine relay. Benjamin barely withstands the Cardinals' combined power, having brought the golden mirror. His 40 years of climbing the ranks vanish. Still, Benjamin overlooked a detail. Lord Gertrude reminds him the mirror is. Benjamin freezes in shock as Gertrude declares everything is for Lord Olden. The forbidden shot explodes, while a shadowy voice notes Tartarus worshippers. A high-ranking apostle grumbles about slaughtering all, but others outline a scheme of fake negotiations. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Pavel dismisses the situation as typical high society. Then Wilhelmina and Othello step in. Golden energy builds as warriors thrust their blades. Then a second blast hits. Gertrude screams and struggles, but Benjamin holds on as a third blast rocks. Hooves thunder as cavalry gallops, but 30 minutes away the barrier is under siege. The barrier wavers as the golden mirror burns divine energy. Eurydice's relic field may fail, so Dariel readies. Her eyes snap open with a star-shaped glint. She gasps Dariel's name, then counts 2, and finally shouts 3. The cavalry charges into the fray, weapons drawn. A wave of mounted riders charges over rocky ground as the earth trembles beneath. The enemy expresses surprise that they survived, then warns their luck has run out. A brutal spinning blow whirls through the air. Zephyr blocks the death whirl with a loud clang. A golden eye narrows with cold fury. Zephyr refuses to believe what he sees. The death whirl strikes him directly. He insists Tartarus cannot be his brother. He groans. Then he scolds the deceiver for not being convincing enough. Zephyr demands why Leah betrays them. Then a blast destroys the fortress gate. The death whirl lands with shattering impact, and Zephyr smirks at the result. An electric burst speeds Leah toward the temple, and Zephyr orders her to stop. Soldiers are ordered to protect her and take one side. A purple energy blast tears through the air, and a voice shouts, "Freeze!" The code activates a second mouth, and dark energy bursts from the spell circle. The ritual ends, and the demon is summoned. Then a dark liquid drips. A person sees black rain, feels confused, groans, and orders to kill everyone. Future reports will call this black rain the cursed rain, while mental attacks overwhelm those present. A demonic roar shakes the battlefield as Tartarus delivers a brutal counter. 3 staffs are lost, shrinking the purifying circle, and only a handful resist mind corruption. He debates ignoring the fight to pursue his sister, but he only kills those who must die. He explains his general plan, leaving specific choices to Ophelia. He then asks Ophelia to fight the Smiling Woman, while he chases his sister. Ophelia calls the Smiling Woman a tough opponent. A clash follows as a death whirl hits its target. The Smiling Woman smirks and leaps, then disappears, leaving her enemy baffled. A lightning blast flashes. A technique unfurls, and the death whirl slams home with no chance to dodge. A golden eye opens in the darkness. Then a twirling blow comes without warning. He recalls his strong allies, and then determines what he needs to do. A huge impact strikes, and a voice declares Zephyr and the princess will be heroes. He studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. I, Lucius Giornetti, the first son of light, behold, today. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. The almighty goddess descends upon the dark land, and her light pierces the shadows. The death whirl strikes Zephyr head-on. Then a blinding pillar of light appears before him. The blinding pillar of light does not simply crash down like a divine nuke. Only one person can wield that holy power, so this stranger's identity is. Everyone focused on Erdios' arrival, but now his eyes burn crimson. He planned to hide in Giant's shadows, then slip through chaos to loot everything. That event is ancient history, and someone swears by the sun they are innocent. The voice that stopped Zephyr was not Arya. The gods demand something more entertaining, and the angel completely fumbles the task. The angel delivered the gods' messages without listening. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits. The goddess of light apologized for the inconvenience and offered a reward. She proposed a bodyguard mission as the compensation deal. Zephyr suspected the sword would reject him again. He uses language enchantment, a dragon skill making an enemy's body move against its will. The blade slams down onto the ground with a heavy thud. A blinding pillar of light appears from nowhere. Followed, a divine pillar of light descends, ripping through the battlefield and shattering armor. Everyone had been mistaken. An enemy realized the situation was dire. The Shoggoth had vanished. Something strange was happening to Zephyr, as if he had been poisoned. Zephyr's voice cut through, revealing he had deliberately coated his weapon with a distinctive poison. The enemy has to admit it with a grim laugh. The Sword of Light is all his for at least 10 months, baby. Still, thanks to Yggdrasil, completely rebuilding his body from the ground up. A blue dragon heart, an additional mana stone transplanted. In his past life, regardless of his power, Zephyr was dismissed as a former slave. Some argued Zephyr was a disciple of a famous master. That single word, slave, ruined Zephyr's relations with Altair, even though he was. They refused to listen, despite the world threatening to end. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. A small squad of elite warriors isn't enough to win this war. The Sword of Light is the ultimate key to instantly boosting his status. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. He declared Danikil's contamination would never return. And witnesses saw the blue. Witnessing priests and attorneys claimed the goddess sent Zephyr with a ray. Giving a dragon heart to the goddess's emissary caused the opposition to panic. With several priests witnessing, the opposition leader called Zephyr the Holy. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. Zephyr stands in the spotlight, while Tartarus rambles about the marked bug. Tartarus boasts he raised the bug quickly and calls it Jinn, meaning dragon. He calls Ned's father a fool, and once again drags Ned. Tartarus dismisses the human throne, because the world is ending. When the age of Tartarus begins, his father's failure as a dragon leads. Ned is a hopeless amateur, while the speaker insists he alone has true. He declares ultimate power is his as a blinding surge of raw power. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. A rumbling shakes the area. Then Zephyr is. Zephyr panics at being tied up, then sees Jingang. Dozens of Dragon King martial artists hide in the forest. Zephyr mocks them. Kiara's magic plants transform into steel vines that leech mana and grow more dangerous. He studies the threat in front of him. He unlocks the Angelic Trumpet Call. Blow power, blow speed, movement speed. Dariel's reload and aim speed skyrocket from Elise's buff. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. A loud blast shakes the area. Then a faint hiss follows. He coldly notes the hostage is worthless, then realizes Jinriang's son might. A blinding light rips the sky. The hero then glows with divine radiance. Scouts confirm no ambush. He orders priests to heal. After sunset, Altair's group arrives at the third parish, then regroups and charges forward. Someone gasps at the sight of a real elf. She realizes Zephyr is not the person she seeks. He dismisses. On first sight, she hates Zephyr's dancing, and Twitch appears nervous. Pointed ears perk up, detecting something. Then a rustle of movement follows. A figure hisses fade in warning. The silver-haired warrior smirks, tightening. He locks eyes, recognizing the intruder. The name Fade explodes like, the temple's rules remind Zephyr how tightly the workers are controlled. The demons realize attacking the Holy One now is suicide. A sinister chuckle reveals the truth, and Zephyr decides to introduce herself soon. Rewarding. He studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. He asks Magnus about the second challenge, and the story reveals the guardian dragon. The bombshell lands. The second challenge is the kingdom's guardian dragon. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Our guys admit it was overwhelming. They've been racking their brains trying. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. Another guy just smiles. Actually, I'd say everything turned out splendidly. True. This whole situation was weird as hell. A pale hand reaches out of a swirling blue portal. The young woman, the goddess's emissary, shall descend from the heavens with a divine item. He's convinced Zephyr is a literal gift from the goddess. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him. Zephyr watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. Still, this guy Fade scoffs. I don't work. He studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. Fade confirms Zephyr's suspicion, then explains the Elf Queen's blessing failed without. He even used truth serum on his sister. He also cannot recall anything about the tarantula, now that Jing Gong is dead. He warns Fade not to refuse as he leans in to whisper crucial information. Fade's eyes widen in disbelief. Then his gaze turns razor sharp. A voice announces a new raid party member. Erdios says his master sent him to help Altair. Then Zephyr welcomes him. Altair suggests Erdios becomes Zephyr's apprentice, and Erdios readily agrees. He understands the apprentice role is a subtle put-down, then regrets missing. He shrugs off his regret, reasoning that arriving sooner might have forced him. He realizes he would have slain the blue dragon himself, then recalls. When Tartarus descends, Dragon becomes his servant, and Zephyr must slay them. His master's instructions meant he had to slay the dragon's sleeping main body somewhere. He didn't want to butcher dragons. Stopping Tartarus was. Tartarus presses the moment, while Zephyr hides his real answer. Tartarus scoffs at humans who chatter about killing dragons, yet avoid wise decisions. He shadows the raid party, gauging potential allies then an enemy steps. Zephyr scans the group, deciding which potential ally he can turn. One researcher is ecstatic, though she regrets missing the chance to study Fade. Zephyr checks on the smiling woman, greeting the princess with a knowing laugh. Ned received the Elf Queen's blessing, which remained pure and uncorrupted. All her gear confiscated. Zephyr knows something is wrong. Recovery magic can reattach fingers. The smiling woman was shipwrecked. If she lived with that injury all along, her damaged brain ignored. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. A drumbeat sounds as Zephyr steps into the light. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. 13 years ago, a raging storm swallows a wrecked ship. A little girl floats motionless in freezing, rain-lashed water. Then a splash is heard. She recalls the world going pitch black, then screaming. Her pounding headache made her forget her name, until burning incense caught. The ringing stopped, and a voice commanded her to open her eyes. Seeing only silhouettes, she was promised her sight would be fixed. Introducing. Each day she burned incense at the same time. She sits alone, completely isolated as towering shadows with burning eyes close. She clutched 2 keepsakes, nursing a heartache that never faded. She insisted she did everything he said, before a servant asked if she wanted. He realizes he recited those verses, but another character calls it a creepy ritual. Poison or force destroys the mind. Then incense and chanting manipulate mana flow. His eyes narrow through the smoke, and he ponders the 1 in 10 survivor. A twinkle signals his focus. He traces the cheekbone inward. 2 inches at 8 o'clock. Orange runes flash as Zephyr's power builds outward, unlocking heightened senses. Insight dawns as he squeezes and tugs, reshaping his features with directional arrows. Even in his broken state, he proved useful. His master vowed to locate his brother, compelling him to repay the favor. He resolves to escape this nightmare, even though his plan for the dragon heart failed. He vows to escape, but the woman begs for a bath, to wash off the filth. She asks for his agreement, offering anything he wants in exchange for a single bath. A hooded figure steps in, his presence slicing the air. A gloved hand gently lifts her chin. A confident smirk spreads across. He studies the threat in front of him and waits. Zephyr's glare promises vengeance. He plans to turn the rider's instincts against him. He states a monster can't fight instincts, then orders Tartarus. His eyes widen as ancient power appears. A creature crawls. She gags, retches, and screams, then continues choking. He chuckles darkly, noting that Leah remains exactly. He remembers this moment from his past life and says they are almost done. She tells Zephyr they can finally be together, then meets his gaze. Zephyr accuses her of using him and throwing him away. Then a crash interrupts. Zephyr holds back from killing him for Ned's sake, then leaves. A voice commands Zephyr to open his eyes. Then a door creaks and slow footsteps. The woman asks if Zephyr is finally done, explaining she used a language enchantment. She turns with a knowing smile, her golden choker gleaming. Honestly, I thought you'd fight me on fixing the smiling woman. Anyway, she's out cold. And like I said, he's far. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. A woman demands to know what he did, then asks what she meant. He decides not to ask that question. Then a gloved hand slices. He climbs the stairs, leaving destruction, then spots a shoe and feels confused. A hand reaches from below. Then a woman in dark gown steps. He says the fight is not over as a flower rests on her dark shoe. His heart pounds rapidly as a faint glow emerges. He kisses her. The world fades to silence. She meets his gaze, face flushed, then bathed in golden light. He met many people, good and bad, but was deceived and nearly killed. He swore off trust, feeling the world was a lie, lost in pitch-black darkness. She never needed to raise her voice. The slightest breeze said everything. He would relive this life 1,000 times. Then the third parish temple opens. The banquet hall buzzes as investors eye the loot. Investors salivate over the treasures, confident fundraising will. A single eye snaps open in shock as Altair pulls off a perfect power move. Lord Zephyr strides into the banquet, freezing the atmosphere. Zephyr's entrance freezes the ballroom, his polite demeanor a clever mask. Cardinal Polaris's sudden arrival alarms the nobles, and the host nervously welcomes him. The host panics at the intrusion, but Polaris smoothly reassures. Polaris suggests they look elsewhere, and the heavy doors swing open. A group of children in white dresses and flower crowns sprint forward. Onlookers are startled by the children, but a command tells them. 3 children in white robes and flower crowns sing in harmony, chilling the atmosphere. A commanding figure in dark cape and golden armor appears. Polaris explains the boy fled Danakil, and the tomb's undead took the sisters home. Polaris rescued the orphans and cared for them, then thanked Zephyr. The children cheer for Arya and Zephyr, but someone suspects the visitor's praise is. Polaris mentions the dungeon bubble scam from 12 years ago, which led to new laws. Polaris quotes the Dungeon Act on all gear. The penalty is imprisonment or a fine of up. They quote Article 4, Paragraph 3 on unavoidable use of recovery or personal items. The Dragonheart's value is reported as 0. A character begs. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him. He begins a speech, acknowledging Lord Zephyr's noble intentions as the goddess's emissary. He calls the gold worthless, as the goddess gave the Dragonheart to Zephyr. Who? He asks, who would dare suggest payment for the Dragonheart? Then curses. The bishop declared unprecedented happiness upon hearing about Lord Zephyr. He then visited the bishops of each parish and gathered signatures. All 10 representatives acknowledged the goddess-approved miracle. One bishop commended Zephyr's sacrifice and devotion. And all bishops pledged full support. They realized they have fallen into a trap, now forced. Altair could talk them out with her gift. Polaris rose to bishop under Magnus Fraser. Opposing him is opposing the Golden Dragon. They need Polaris to back down, but someone hisses, there's nothing more. Tartarus reveals he did not come for a rematch. Then, a sinister smile spreads across. Zephyr feels bone-deep dread. Certain disaster is coming. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him, and waits. After months of bureaucratic runaround, the only result is sabotage. Saboteurs are planted to intentionally ruin the raid and keep strong members from leaving. Renting gear for difficult dungeons becomes costly, and enchanted equipment is also required. Personnel expenses and rations for dozens of ordinary members drain the budget. Without profits or support from the authorities, the group cannot last long. This may come as news, but she still retains her pride. The reason for the serious face is that he has arrived. His eyes narrow with cold fire, muscles tense. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. He lists plague, famine, war, and death. A listener gasps. When he obtained the Sword of Light, an angel spoke those words. Zephyr insists he alone decides Dragonheart recipients, then demands the other keeps their word. He sincerely thanks the Cardinal and accepts the offered help with gratitude. The clip-clop of hooves signals departure. Then the Cardinal mentions a contract for the Foundation donation. He restates his control over Dragonhearts, while someone else scoffs at the fool's efforts. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. He laughs wildly as he speaks about the nature of this world. He realizes he could have used mana perception to detect lies. He doesn't mind delays. Precautions taken. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. He proposes a possible way to see Manhwa again. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. Despite taking a hit, he grins, explaining he didn't see it coming, which amuses him. The tense exchange gives Zephyr a narrow opening to exploit. If that's true, then in my previous life. Goat watches for weakness, while Zephyr keeps the conversation under control. Marinia, the ice dragon. She's our party's guardian deity. Tartarus knew Zephyr believed they lacked power, so he pretended. Tartarus realized Zephyr still saw himself as human. Despite everything, Zephyr let Tartarus go, even though he knew his true identity. Even though Tartarus is now a hero of the Temple of Light, he can still sow discord there. He realized the god wasn't just mocking him. He crushed the enemy's throat. He stood over a pile of bodies, grinning as he called this merely the warm-up. Zephyr dismisses the fight as a warm-up. Then the crew feasts. Zephyr announces the Ice Dragon raid demands all-out combat, then tells everyone. Dragon meat boosts mana, endurance, strength senses, and elemental resistances. The water heals and purifies, and the group prepares for the chaotic raid ahead. Turns out Zephyr learned to cook from his grandpa when he was little. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Erdy's stomach hurts like hell, so he passes on the dragon meat. He won't step out of line, and not just because of that restrictive spell. He studies the threat in front of him. The Tartarus leader interrupts, and Zephyr shows the Roran auction catalog and preliminary list. The Roran auction, the continent's biggest, trades millions during appraisal and assessment months. Given the auction's promotion and volume, Zephyr's deadline is exactly 2 months away. The registration rule forbids canceling a scheduled item. He is flying blind because his past life never had an ice dragon raid. A heavy stomp sounds as Erdy steps out of the carnage in fight regalia. A looming presence appears, and the narrator reveals Erdy had already fled. He considers bargaining with the dragon, hoping to avoid violence if it talks. He intends to reach the dragon before the princess. A voice demands his identity, scoffs at his arrogance, freezes air with ice aura. In an icy wasteland, a cold-eyed woman watches with a smile, then leaps. Marinia moves incredibly fast. She smells her sister Manhwa. Marinia asks Zephyr's choice. She introduces herself as the Ice Dragon. Erdy couldn't have hoped for a better stroke. Erdy's only goal: protect his master and fellow dragons. Engraved. Realizing the same is true for her, she then hears a loud clang. Amazed that he survived 5 attacks, she cackles and expects him to withstand this. A frost-wreathed figure swings a huge ice blade, sending sharp shards scattering. He counters with a flurry of energy blades. Ice and raw energy collide in a shattering impact. As a deep rumble echoes, Zephyr muses that this fight is just a warm-up. He ponders the rarity of such a foe as their swords clash violently. A blinding surge of power flares, and the view changes to an icebound harbor. Beyond the battlefield, an ice wall rises. The villain cackled, mocking the protagonist for ever thinking he could win. Erdy roars and charges at the towering ice dragon Marinia, who remains completely unfazed. Erdi's barrage of strikes shows no hesitation, but Marenia knows dragons are the apex. Marenia says his bare hands will not work for a century, then offers a sparring match. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. She's so damn smug about it. Flashback to the grind. This absolute madman only eats when he's literally dying of hunger. That's the type of insane discipline he's built. Munch, blow, shoveling food down like there's no tomorrow. This human is so strange when a dragon reveals only a fraction of their power. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. Erdi reminds himself that courage alone can overcome his fear. Then a clash occurs. He smashes the enemy's face, sickening whack, pure love, and asks what more he needs. He wonders about adjusting center of gravity and finger angles, then feels a breakthrough. He urges himself to keep going as their attacks collide in ice and energy. He acknowledges she is too strong and is knocked down again, with sparks. Erdi enjoys the defeat, reveling in the chance to face a stronger foe. He channels all power into one final blow and charges at an ice dragon. A fighter lies wrecked on the ground, while the woman barely seems winded. Admitting his growth, he says he can now land hits. The woman smirks, impressed. Marenia calls Erdi over, insisting he sees something. He asks what is happening. His eyes go wide in shock as an impossible aurora appears before him. Brilliant aurora borealis lights the sky. She tells him to sit down. Long ago, she witnessed something beautiful. She wanted to see it again. A white-blue heart fragment inside her came from one dragon heart split into 7. Erdi flinches. She had been waiting for him to be born. Perhaps they both carried the same burden, as silent panels showed their resolve. Quick flashes of combat connected the last reveal to the next decisive moment. The enemy's pressure forces Zephyr to answer before the opening disappears. Li Jian ended that arc with savage finality, leaving no survivors or apologies. Zephyr studies the threat in front of him. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Her mission's curse meant she could only tell Altair to slay Dragon, but Erdi, though? Too soft. If she doesn't give him the whole truth, he won't be able to kill all the dragons, or at the least, so she begs. He resolves to save his world and kin. Zephyr watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. His master suffered for months to master that spell. A month later, they stay at the fortress. Tartarus presses the moment, while Zephyr hides his real answer. He claims destroying altars would avoid dragon killing. A critic argues that relying solely on personal strength is foolish, and urges cooperation. He adds that both Zephyr and the princess already want Artalis gone. Providing. She offers to team up if he succeeds. He admits he cannot lean. For a year, Erdi clears dungeons, but cannot meet the Blue Dragon. The Blue Dragon will be on high alert, making the raid party safer. Erdi brings investments for the Blue Dragon raid. Ralph seeks his target in the party. Fade, sent by Duke Giornetti. Works. Preparations for the raid go smoothly. Then the Blue Dragon raid begins. An old man barks not to hold him back. Erdi retorts, betting the fight will distract him. Erdi only needs to get close to heal the Blue Dragon. He's packing the magic sacrificial blade, forged from a demon. Reality? Gotse's proposal hangs in the air while Zephyr studies. This blade is a dragon's tombstone and funeral march. Arta, you fight them with everything you've got and teach them. She need not obey his command, but she cannot hand that power to an unworthy weakling. The Blue Dragon declares himself the challenge, and Li Gion's blade cleaves. An unstoppable counter rips through the air. A blade tears in a blinding arc. Erdi fails to persuade the Blue Dragon, and the dragon goes all out, leaving no escape. He realizes his only move to survive is... He whispers an apology over and over as his weapon clanks down. That moment marks a shift. He realizes he cannot protect the ones he wants. He realizes he must seize control of the raid party. He steadies himself as the confrontation shifts around him. He acts thrilled, then asks about the dragon heart. He buries his feelings, becomes indispensable and is grateful for the Dragonheart contract. He cannot let Dragonheart fall into others' hands as a hissing sound rises. At that moment, the demon Ramiel appears from the dragon's remains. The poison and Dragonheart blast shakes the forest, ruining. Erdi confronts Fade for stopping his blow. Then Fade demands the Dragonheart's power. Claiming he could have killed the demon, Erdi is dismissed. Fade sneers that the poison was already exposed. He states his job is done. Walks away. Fade warns the princess not to empower that man, and the remark seems carefully planned. Still, a new event distracts her. As another character understands and consoles Erdi, a voice assures Zephyr he is not alone. Then a giant dragon crashes down in blinding light. Freezing energy builds across the land as Marinia freezes waterways. Ice Dragon Marinia joins Altair's squad as Erdi earns the title Dragon Knight. Marinia's blizzard freezes the battlefield. Erdi's dive shatters squad cohesion. One fighter declines extra reward, citing, "The party is now mostly Erdi's former opponents." A warrior questions the order to kill all dragons. Zephyr grunts in pain as his opponent remarks on his improved martial arts. The enemy orders Zephyr to confess, then realizes he is Fade's new ally. He notes Zephyr's blue dragon heart, and questions if Erdi's assumption is wrong. Zephyr declares he must build his own powerhouse squad. Then a brushing sound. A woman stands soaked as a nearby man clenches his jaw in grim resolve. A young woman tenses, demanding the corpse of the Tartarus worshipper. Despite being a loose cannon, the man's skill earns him. He resented that Fade and Dariel returned nearly a year ago. Tartarus questions Zephyr about the blue dragon heart, then clarifies Erdi's true intention. He appears innocent on the surface, but underneath he obsesses over others' opinions. He plans to act helpful in the raid. He lets his rival believe he is in charge, then instructs. The auction team heads to the capital to bid on raid essentials. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. Not that I'm complaining, I haven't laid eyes on my firstborn. He's a human scholar who wandered into the Great Forest 61 years ago. The Elf Queen gave Zephyr a letter for her chosen recipient, who despised him. Lucius joined the group despite past friction, and the Goddess of Light assigned Zephyr. A blinding golden blast of holy power erupted. The warrior thrust his hand upward, sending a golden beam. The approaching forces are not merely close, they are heading straight toward them. A lone rider soars into the open sky atop a huge white dragon. Duke Cesare Giornetti emerges from the shadows, and the next chapter opens. A white dragon's claw shatters the floor as Duke Cesare Giornetti dismounts smiling. Cesare asks how everyone has been. No one dares breathe. Cesare welcomes Philip back and remarks that the party seemed to be starving. Introductions are made. Duke Cesare Giornetti and Professor Vittel. He didn't just profit off the dungeon bubble. He's one of the villains who threw. This man created the dungeon bubble that allowed a con man like Olden to thrive. Imagine, a selfish villain like him, who cares only about his own family's interests. This is so sudden. According to Zephyr's past life, the Duke lost his greatest asset, his son, to Olden. The Duke let Olden take the third parish. Unaware, Olden concealed sharp claws. Olden brainwashed the Holy One, stole the Black Dragon Heart. Zephyr prevented Olden's original scheme, but their non-occurrence now creates a problem. The Duke does not realize the favor they did, yet Pilgrim speaks enthusiastically. Pilgrim admits he is underwhelmed by the so-called hero, prompting a confused reaction. They laugh, noting young Zephyr is in the tomb of the fallen princess. Only those two entered the boss room and saw a clue to the phenomenon. Zephyr feels tempted to ask, yet doubts whether the man is friend or foe. He resolves to assess the stranger himself, while another voice denies any payment. Tartarus claims the others owe him money, and a startled voice identifies him as father. His eye narrows, sharp and unblinking. His decision is now final. He began listing a third point, but another person interrupted with an apology. He defied the upcoming demand, then swore on the Sword of Light he was sent by the goddess. He questioned her attraction to such a vile person, then warned him to value. After the Duke joined, each had a separate mission. The auction team headed for the capital, joined by Philip Pilgrim. The group questions Philip Pilgrim's presence. Zephyr reveals Eugenio Vittel is his rumored father. Eugenio is called a hunchbacked old man. Then a guard shouts, "Halt!" He spots something in the distance. Then a blast appears from the valley below. He and his companion venture into the blazing woods, far from the great port. A twig snaps as Zephyr asks why they travel alone in this hazardous place. If they are alone, Zephyr recalls, the sequence from his past life repeats in 5 years. He admits he has always wanted to set foot in this place. A speaker questions Zephyr's hidden knowledge, clarifying it is not the dragon heart. He recalls that in his past life, the Duke was an important ally. The question of helping the Duke hangs, threatening the timeline. The silence breaks like a grenade, and Zephyr questions how events escalated. Zephyr's mind races through scenarios, knowing a monster that size cannot appear without traces. Still, there's one breadcrumb that stinks to high heaven. The exact moment he popped. He spells it out. Jinriang's so-called captured disciple? A character proposes a theory, but the group quickly dismisses it as worthless. The group lands on the simplest explanation, then sweeps the problem aside. Zephyr plans to sabotage them so thoroughly they never get a chance. Altair is accompanied by the first son of light, Lucius Giornetti. He marvels at his daughter's growth before they offer a blue dragon horn as reward. He commends Altair for saving countless lives, but she deflects with quiet formality. Zephyr watches silently as the king offers any treasure or land. 2 figures emerge, crying out to their father. The king offers treasure and land, naming his price to Zephyr. She asks her father if he truly means his generous offer. Tartarus mentions one final detail about the upcoming Ice Dragon raid. At the Adventurers Guild headquarters, rescue teams consist of volunteers with supplies and medics. The group turns to the Ice Dragon raid, focusing on its potential issues. The pressure around Zephyr reveals how quickly the situation can turn. A fight forces Temple of Light to demand surrender. Kylie and Kevin are beasts. A calm voice interjects, declaring this is their shot. He studies the threat in front of him and waits for an opening. He watches the room carefully as the pressure shifts around the offer. Her brother's interference cost her the plan, and she gets a final warning about her title. She decides she does not need that advice as a grand carriage arrives on the cobblestones. The battlefield falls silent as Zephyr and Tartarus stare each other down. No one moves. The weight of the revelation holds everyone in place.